And we're joined by Senator James Lankford, who just flew in. We're talking on Saturday at 11:20, got on a 5:30 a.m. flight and flew in after a busy week. Senator, thank you for joining us here.
I'm glad to. It has been a very busy week, actually.
We're speaking from the Southern Republican Leadership Conference here in Oklahoma City, and I wanted to ask you what you think it means that this event is here in Oklahoma City this year.
It's a big deal. I mean, everybody sees that. The entire nation for a week is looking at Oklahoma. Unfortunately, they're not seeing our sunshine this week. They're seeing our rain this week. But it's a great opportunity both for the city to be able to show itself off and also to be able to be the epicenter of a lot of the conversation on national politics.
Let me ask you about the size of the potential field. There's a dozen or so, 13 men and women who want to be president right now. There's two thoughts. One is, hey, let's winnow it down quickly and get after it. The other is, let's have a good battle for the next several months and let the cream rise to the top. How do you feel about that?
I think the cream rising to the top is a better way to do it. I think we get a lot of people engaged. I think it's a good sign that we have this many people qualified, this many people that a lot of Americans will look at and go, that person shares my values, and I think they'd represent us well. I think that speaks well of the party. But I do think it's one of the things that in the next few months it will winnow down in a hurry, just with fundraising and organization and planning. As people start to hear all the stories, it'll winnow down fairly quickly.
What is the message that the potential Republican nominee has to really stress, maybe more than one or two things they really need to talk about, that other than I'm not Barack Obama?
Right, and that's it. The president at this point is irrelevant. He's irrelevant in his own party. It's irrelevant in the next campaign, and we need to make sure it stays that way. The main focus that we've got to have is we got to talk about jobs. We got to talk about what's going to happen in the economy. We have to talk about what's happening in our families. We have to talk about tax policy. We have to have things that actually matter to real individuals. And quite frankly, I think a lot of Americans are looking for someone to vote for that's like them. They're going to look up on the stage and go, that person thinks like me, they act like me, they respond like me, that person would carry my values, and I think that'll be important.
We mentioned at the start it's been a busy week for you in the Senate. Last night, Friday night, the final vote on the fast track trade bill. Talk to us a little bit about your thoughts on that. You supported it, why you think it's a good thing for the United States.
I did, yeah. I go all the way back to the Declaration of Independence, as strange as that sounds when we talk about trade. One of the grievances we had with King George is that he was inhibiting our trade with other nations. And it's one of the reasons we broke away from England in the very beginning. We've been a free trading nation since before we were even a nation. We have 20 trade agreements right now with other nations. Just in the manufacturing sector, just manufacturing, we're $55 billion a year in the black with those 20 nations. We compete well, and there's this fear out there that if we line up with other nations, if we're going to compete with Australia or New Zealand or Canada or some of these other in the Trans-Pacific Partnership possibilities, when they look at it, they'll say, well, we're not going to line up well with them. We do. We win. Our workers win. Our products win. People want American products around the world. When we force them to open their markets by dropping their tariff barriers, our products get in there and we succeed.
And so the argument that's been made by those who oppose it is that it'll hurt American jobs, it hurts the United States. You're saying not true.
No, it's not true. There's been a lot of angst on the Democrat side, quite frankly. The unions don't like this agreement at all. They want to force unionization worldwide, and because this deal doesn't force unionization in all these different countries, they're opposing it adamantly. Well, I don't see that as an issue. Quite frankly, in a right-to-work state like ours, we just tell people if you want to, you can, and you'd be able to open that up, but we're not going to reach into a state, another nation, and be able to force them to do that. There's been a lot of controversy about what's in the final agreement. I've been fascinated by that. The actual Trans-Pacific Partnership itself is still being put together. There are 12 nations that are negotiating, just like any negotiation. All that's happening behind closed door. I took time yesterday actually to go through and see the most current, up-to-date part of the negotiations. I can do that every time. They update it every single week with all the latest parts of the negotiations.
It's just not out there.
That's correct. It's not out there yet, but once it is settled, once it's all determined, this is the final, for 2 months, it'll be in the public domain. Everyone will be able to see it, will be able to read it before we actually vote on it at the end. So all this claim about secrecy and all the things it's going to do, those are not true. It's just we're in that negotiation phase.
Senator James Lankford, thank you for giving us a couple minutes on a busy day for you. Good to see you.
Very good to see you as well.